Next, we have our finance report. Oh, sorry, we had a hand up from Vice Chair Lisa Rivera. Lisa? Oh, and I can't hear you, Lisa. Can anybody hear Lisa? I can't hear her. No. All right. Yep, I think there's an issue with the mic. We'll come back to you when you're ready. Okay. Uh, finance report, Lisa Levy.
Sure. The report for this month is that we are, as far as our year to date, our year starts April, so April 2025 to the present, we're only $374 in the red, which is nice. Most of our donations or renewals and memberships come in around this time, so um, I'm confident that we will not end up in the red by the end of March. The breakdown of our budget of what has been spent to date is mostly in elections, some in infrastructure, compliance, events and fundraising, and real rent. I've split out the stuff in the Google Drive, so it's a little bit easier to read. Um, People are always interested in what is infrastructure, and that is what keeps us rolling. And mainly, most of it goes to Nation Builder and to integrated solutions political, which is our platform, our financial platform. And then the rest is things that need to be paid in order for our meetings to happen. As far as what we have in the bank, we currently have $4,000, $4,749 in the bank. That is as of 1/31, and we've gotten a bunch of donations in the last couple days, or memberships, I guess. So we're in good shape, at least for this fiscal year. Any questions? That makes sense, Hunter?
Yep. I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Lisa. Appreciate it. All right. Up next, committee updates. Doug Mormon, you've got some updates from the PCO committee.
I do. I do. I'm here speaking on behalf of Mark Auerbach, who is our chair. He isn't able to be here this evening, but he wants everyone to know, especially the current PCOs, that your current term ends on November 30th. The process, people interested in being elected to be a PCO need to self-nominate by May 4th in a couple of months. The PCO Get Out the Vote Committee is going to seek to encourage as many nominees as we can in the 219 precincts that make up the 46th district. We have now around 150 folks that are currently PCOs. All of those PCOs will need to self-nominate between May 4th and May 18th. The committee is planning on sending out a survey in the near future to current PCOs and 46th members to learn your plans about self-nominating to be a PCO in your precinct. The goal is to get that survey back in late February, early March, so that in March and in April, we can do what we need to do to find people that might be interested in serving as a PCO in those precincts that there's not somebody that's already in the process of interested in serving in that capacity. The PCO committee is also the Get Out the Vote committee for our group. There are for our organization there are 8 members, and they've begun to plan, in addition to this work on the PCO, encouraging PCO self-nomination. We're working on getting together the materials for the primary on August 4th and the general election on in November. If you're learning more about being a PCO or helping to get to work on the committee, please let Mark or I know. There is on the website our website, the 46th Dems website, some background information on being a PCO. That's being updated. But you will be receiving, everyone will be receiving a survey in the next week or two. And we really encourage you to think briskly about completing it. I realize that it seems like really early to be thinking about making a commitment about being a PCO for next year, but the window of opportunity to recruit folks in precincts that don't have a candidate is really pretty small. I'm happy to take any questions if the chair thinks we have some time.
Yeah, Gary Goldbaum has his hand up.
Yes, for existing PCOs, is there anything special we are supposed to do, or is this going to happen through that survey?
No, every person that's interested in being a PCO has to self-nominate. We'll figure out, I'm not sure exactly what the state does in terms of notifying current PCOs. But we will be doing what we can through the 46 to let folks know how to go about the process of self-nominating. So everyone who is currently a PCO has to re-nominate themselves and the window is pretty short. The window is between May 4th and May 8th. You have to do it in that time period. If there are more than one candidate for a PCO in your precinct, then both of your names will show up on the primary ballot. If there's only one person that self-nominates, your name will not show up on the ballot that we all get in the mail. You'll just automatically become the PCO for that precinct.
Thank you.
Yep, yeah, just keep your eyes out. We'll be sending email blast starting a couple of weeks before filing. You file just like a candidate does for any office, because it is an office, just one most people don't hear much about. Al Lee.
Hi, yeah. Quick question. I'm actually going to be out of the country from May 4th to May 8th. Is there any problem doing this remotely, registering with the state via the web, or are they going to block my access from France?
I'm certainly not the person that knows the exact answer to that, but the whole process is electronic.
Yeah, you'd have to reach out to King County Elections and ask them. They'll be the one that manages that. I don't think that there would be an issue with them blocking you. At least I can't imagine that there would be. And I guess, the thing to do would be try it on a Monday, and maybe you have to send an email and just let them know, like, hey, I'm a real person. I'm on vacation. I need to do this.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Or send that email now in advance. Just, find out what you need. You could always have a friend or a family member possibly file for you. I don't know if that's allowed. You might have to be the one to sign and affirm, so that's probably not allowed. I take that back. All right. Any other questions for Doug? Any other questions for Doug? Nathan Antonio.
Yeah, this isn't a question. This is more of just potentially helpful information for the body about getting emails. Just because I do hear from people fairly often that emails from the organization go to your junk / your spam folder. There are ways to get it to stop doing that, but first you have to find the email that went to spam. So I think this is mostly just a suggestion to, if you feel like you've been missing emails from us, to go find the message in your spam folder, and then check with your email provider about how to add the organization as a safe sender so that that doesn't happen anymore. For folks who are on Gmail, I do have a link to how they do it, how to do it with Gmail. I'll post that in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, that was our only main committee update where we had a lot of stuff to report on. We heard from state. I'm not aware of a whole lot going on with King County Democrats right now, except we did approve the questionnaires. So those are ready for candidates that have already filed and will be going out or made available for people that have already filed. If I'm missing anything, please go ahead and raise your hand if you're one of our reps or alts, and we can fill that in, but I think that about covers it. All right. So up next, we have resolutions. Shane McCumber.
Yes.
All right. Are you with it? All right. I'll go ahead and hand the gavel over to you, sir.
Okay. Grab the agenda here real quick because we just making sure that we are going in order for the ones that we have listed. So the first resolution is the resolution protecting water energy communities from data center impacts in Washington. So I would like to turn this over to Alice Lockhart or their designated representative for the introduction.
Hey, so we were asked, so this is point of clarity here. We were asked to give there's two issues. One, the resolution is about current legislation involving data centers. But before that, it's like, so what are these all about? And we were asked to give a short presentation on that and the current state of legislation as opposed to legislation before the legislature. Do we still want to hear that presentation? It's 5 minutes.
So as long as the presentation is not making an argument for passage of the resolution, like that's where you have to be careful with making the
It is
presentation.
not. It's
I wasn't aware of the
basically
presentation. I'm just going to ask, is there any objections to, presenting information on these data centers since we didn't include it and we're going to be voting on a resolution on it? Any objections? Any objections? All right, floor is yours, Alice. I just want to make sure we're all
well,
up and
so
open.
I was hoping that Nathan could share slides. Would that be possible, Nathan?
Yes, please bear with.
That would be fab.
Mhm.
I can speak to the titles page before the slides come up. It's basically data centers plus AI 101. And the idea is, so what is it with all these data centers and what is it with the state of legislation or lack thereof in the state of Washington at the moment? And on many of these slides, you'll see a bit.ly hyperscaler 101. That's because the material is dense. And there is a final slide with more info and stuff. So if you follow that bit.ly, you will have access to the slides as well as to the final slide with some links. Next slide, please. So what is it about AI and data centers? Well, hyperscalers, that's interesting. My slide version has text on it. I'll just speak you through it. Hyperscalers are different. New data centers are built for AI, not traditional internet. They're owned by tech giants like trillion-dollar companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta, Elon Musk, etc. And they consume huge amounts of electricity and water because their chips run hotter and there are lots of them to do even trivial tasks. As an example, Elon Musk owns and his companies own a 2 gigawatt data center called Colossus, which draws about as much power as Seattle City Light. So you could imagine what that'll do to our climate goals if we stand up a bunch of those without new renewables. Oh, look, there's the slide. I think you want to go to slide view, Nathan, and you'll be able to, click to go through the slides. These are all dedicated to AI, not your Discord center, not your bank, not running the internet, but much bigger data centers to do much less. Let's move on to slide 4 if we can, Nathan, which is that these giant data centers are pretty much under current Washington law, a disaster for climate and for many people's utility bills. Even the Seattle Times has correct headlines like data centers guzzle power, threatening Washington's clean energy push. And as soon as I, even read this in the Times, much less read all the details elsewhere, I was pretty scared. I learned from, I think it was NBC, I'm not sure the link, areas of the US who see the most data center growth. They also see wholesale electricity prices more than double, and, with concomitant increases in people's utility rates. And here in Washington, we have all this green hydro, so everything's great for us, right? But not so much because according to BPA, our hydro system is tapped out. We're using it all, and we're using more and more energy that isn't hydro as our energy needs grow. Data centers add to this in huge amounts. And like, another Seattle. Some Washington counties with lots of data centers, such as Grant County, that used to rely on hydro, now buying some dirty power on the open market, and that can only increase if basically something isn't done. Next slide, please. There's a host of other problems, the biggest of which is stranded assets. Everybody's predicted this bubble will burst soon, and even if it doesn't, it will slow down, at which points the data centers need less energy, pay for less energy to utilities, and guess who's left footing the bill for grid extensions and standing up more power sources? Yes, that would be utility customers. Water use is a huge issue. Tribal rights and infringements upon them is a huge issue, as is the lack of a requirement that data centers curtail power during grid emergencies. Snowpocalypse, hey, we get colder because data centers. Next slide. Yeah, it's scary secret. Our laws don't require them to report on stuff, and they don't. They have NDAs with local governments so that folks don't know the data center is coming until it's too late to prevent it. We don't know how much power they use. We don't know how many jobs they produce, despite giving them giant tax breaks, supposedly for a few jobs in their largely empty data center warehouses. They're not just, they don't disclose stuff about water, about pollution, and again, about energy use. And that's all per current state law. Next slide. We could do it. There we go. And yeah, so they promise lots of jobs. That's how they get in here, say, hey, we're going to make lots of jobs. Therefore, give us tax breaks. Washington legislature and the governor did exactly that. To the tune of, maybe around $100,000 a year per job at the most generous. That's how the law is written. You can have as few jobs as, per tax break as we pay you $100,000. You pay someone maybe 80. It's a direct subsidy to these tech giants, who then come along and announce in the press that, hey, AI is great. It can wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs in the next several years. And a similar announcement came out from Microsoft only yesterday. Thanks, guys. Slide 9, please. And finally, thanks for listening to this. If you want to know more, if you are super upset and maybe want to do something, check out these links. The first one is a really simple, 1-minute call to action. That's the presentation about what's going on now. Now, sadly, same person on to the resolution, unless there's some piece of formality ahead of that. No more formality, just go.
No, I just wanted to really quickly, now this came from the Environment and Climate Caucus, this resolution, is that correct?
It came via
And,
them. It came
okay,
basically from
yep,
me and from before that, from a bunch of people who attended a bunch of public forums on this issue, got all upset and said, we got to do something. How about resolutions to LDs? And then people went and did this, wrote this stuff and did this thing.
okay, all
Um,
right.
yeah.
I forgot to ask that at the beginning. I mean, I am aware of that from our, when Shane gave us the briefing at the executive board meeting, but I realized that our membership did not have that context, so.
Yeah, and
Um,
I've been talking to folks in the Enviro Caucus. They're great. Um,
yep.
so I could do
So,
the 2-minute pro and the what this is in the same 2 minutes if you want.
so let's do the what this is. I think your presentation was a little bit weighted and had some argument in it. And and so just be really careful and mindful. If you want to just talk about what the resolution does at this point.
Okay. I've already said where it came from. It points out that data centers are expected to consume up to 13%, so in the wherefores, of Washington electricity by 2030, with concomitant effects on utility bills, and to strain the already maxed out grid. You did hear a bunch of the wherefores. You're right in the presentation. And thusly to threaten the state's climate goals by purchasing our already maxed out hydro without supplying a corresponding renewable build out. Current Washington law lacks any requirement that they pay for necessary grid upgrades and infrastructure upgrades to support their electricity, much less renewable energy to meet their energy needs or even reporting. Washington, now here's where the law comes in. Washington HB 2515, sponsored by Beth Doglio, who's great if you don't know her, establishes clean energy target dates for data centers, requires agreements between data centers and utilities to protect ratepayers from cost shifts and reliability lists, closes some clean energy transformation Act loopholes that it could allow utilities to directly subsidize data centers. And that's all good stuff. Sadly, since we first drafted this resolution and the version that's linked from the website now has the updated version, the bill has been progressively weakened by amendments and substitutions, including postponing the clean energy requirement for 100% to 2046 from 2036, and eliminating a fee that would have required the largest energy users to help pay for low-income energy assistance, among other weakenings. So the resolution basically calls on our legislatures to not only pass this bill, but now that it's been weakened in the House, where it passed, to strengthen it in the Senate to restore the removed provisions and further strengthen it with stronger environmental and community protections. I'd have to read the whole thing to get all the details, but everything is supported by that summary, and please do pass it. Senator Valdez needs to hear this from us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alice. Julie Conklin, you have a hand up.
Please forgive my lack of voice. There seems to be a feedback here. The last speaker, I was getting a lot of double talking. I couldn't quite hear her, so don't know if any other people were hearing that.
Unfortunately, Julie, I'm seeing a lot of heads being shaken, so it sounds like it might be on your end. Did you have any questions for Alice? Or just, wanting to ensure that everybody was able to hear?
Yeah, just to ensure people could hear. Because her
Okay.
speech was so garbled, I couldn't understand a pretty large segment of what she was saying.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. I think it might be your connection. She came in crystal for me, and it looked like a bunch of people shook their head that they weren't having the same issue. I also encourage transcripts to go on. They're not perfect, but they get you pretty close. All right. Is there any discussion or debate on this resolution? Any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? All right, since it is on the agenda as it's under consideration when we passed, we'll go ahead and go right to a vote since there's no discussion or debate. If you would like this resolution to pass, go ahead and indicate. Oh, Judy, you have a hand up?
No, I was going to vote.
Oh,
for it.
okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, so
Sorry.
if you would like this to pass, please use the green check mark.
There.
If you do not wish for this resolution to pass, please use the red no. I see Stephanie, you have a hand up. Stephanie Smith?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My question is actually maybe a point of order, is that SB, whatever the bill number was repeated 3 times, 2 times in a positive way and 1 time in a negative way. And I'm
Yes.
wondering if there's a typo.
And are you talking, so their support does not go far enough? If there is, and you want to let us know, my understanding is that this resolution supports Senate Bill 6171, and it calls for strengthening. If you find something that's different, and it's minor, we could consider it a scrivener's error and clean that up before it goes out.
Okay. Okay. I just was, it seemed really strange to me that there was 2 positives and 1 negative.
Okay. Do you know where it
Stephanie,
is?
feel free to, if you have specific questions and I can see where those are, feel free to email me at the address on the last slide.
Okay, I don't have I didn't print out the whereas, but anyway, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. So we are still voting. I am seeing 23 yeses and a timer. We have 43 people in the room. So if you'd like this to pass, green check mark for yes, red X for no. And just a reminder that you have to have an asterisk next to your name in order to be able to vote. I'm gonna make sure that we don't have any non-voting members. All right. It looks like we have 25 yes, 26 yes, 0 no, 44 people in the room. So the resolution passes. 27 yes. We got one more. All right, we'll record that as an
Thank
official
you.
27 yes, 0 no's, and a number of abstentions. 44 people in the room, not all of whom are voting members. All right, I'm gonna clear feedback. Shane, do you want to take us through the next resolution?
Yes, so, oh, pardon me. The next resolution is the resolution in regards to sanctions and taxes towards United States Immigration and Customs ICE. This one, I believe, was submitted by Cody Zalewski. So if Cody would like to give the introduction on this one, I would turn the floor over to him.
Right, and remember, Cody, that for this, you're going to talk about what the resolution does, not the
Okay.
pros and cons of it. That can come later during discussion.
Certainly. Okay. So what this resolution would do is, as the title suggests, impose sanctions and taxes directed towards immigration and customs enforcement officials, their property and personnel, and to prevent collaboration with this federal agency by county or municipal governments.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we enter into discussion? Any questions? Hand up from Tara and Margaret. In that order. Tara?
Yeah, is it possible to reword the resolves so that we are resolving action by the 46 and not action by the legislature? We can only resolve what is in our power to do.
Okay, I might have to ask you to make a specific amendment to that. Or propose a specific amendment. Oh, so right there where you've highlighted, it looks like. So are you suggesting that we amend it to insert therefore, or be it further resolved that the 46 LD calls on legislators to?
We can demand our legislators.
Okay.
We can urge, we can demand, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Are you making a motion to amend?
Well, I
What
want to
particular
see what
language?
Margaret had to say first.
Okay, Margaret, you have a hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Not specifically that point, but I'm feeling challenged by the understanding the language of the be it resolved, which are the most important part of any resolution. On the second, the be it further resolved, legislators must mandate repossessing any Washington property. Could Cody just explain in different words what the intent of that meaning is? Tell it to me in plain language, because when I read it, I have questions.
Sure. So what this would do is, for example, there are facilities that are currently used by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, for example, in Tacoma. This would make Washington take steps to remove them from that property.
Are you talking about the detention facility?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Margaret?
No, but I'm not sure how I can say it without going off of just a question.
Okay.
Are you talking about eminent domain? Are you talking about eviction? When I look at issues like this, I always try to remind myself that tools such as advocating for laws where the government can do things cuts all ways when there's someone else in power. So are you talking about legislation to have the government seize property?
Yes, that's correct. I was going to go into that a little bit in my statement, but yes.
All right, Gary Goldbaum.
So I'm concerned about the third, be it resolved, and that it calls upon amending the Washington Constitution. Legislators by themselves, I don't believe, can do that. But besides that, this is so complicated that I have real doubts that this would be permitted by the courts to stand as a single issue. So I'm also concerned that anytime we open up the Constitution, we create a real opportunity for something unexpected to happen. So I'm opposed to that particular resolved and would ask that it be stricken.
Okay, so right now, I should have clarified, we're asking questions. If you want to amend something, you've got to make a motion to do that, and then we'll debate that motion. So it sounds like you do want to make an amendment, Gary. So if you want to think about what that amendment is and propose it, we can go from there.
Yes,
And same with you, Margaret, because I know you have something as well. So
my proposed amendment is simply to strike the be it further resolved that legislators amend the Washington Constitution and the rest of that paragraph.
okay, so that entire one. Is there a second for Gary's motion to strike the entirety of the third be it resolved clause? Pat Trussell, you have a hand up? Are you seconding Gary's motion?
Yes, I was seconding.
Okay. All right. So the motion on the table is to strike that. Gary, I think you already argued your point, so I'm going to take that as one speech in favor of that strike. Would anyone like to speak against striking that section? Cody.
Okay. I'm currently reading through this right now. So in terms of amending the Washington State Constitution, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the legislators can, or they can propose an initiative to the people to amend it. If maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I believe that's correct. Gary, you have a hand up. Do you have an answer? Or
I don't have a particular answer other than to note that in the past, any changes to the Constitution have required a public vote.
okay. Bethany, you have a hand up?
I would speak against that amendment if that is warranted right at the moment.
We can do two speak. I believe. Are we limited to 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against? Tara, do you recall in our rules for debate?
Yes, unless there is a vote to extend.
Okay, yeah. So we could have another speaker against striking. So Bethany. Oh, sorry. Oops.
Unmute. There we go. Sorry.
That was my fault. I apologize.
No worries. Y'all don't need to hear my cats making fools of themselves in the background. So my statement against removing that particular be it resolved is that I do believe that we can adjust it if necessary to make it fit whatever procedure is, but the argument that something that we are advocating for shouldn't be advocated for because it will be struck down by the courts or might be found unconstitutional, I find unpersuasive as something that we ought to be advocating for, particularly in these times when we know that the courts are not as reliable, even state level courts, as they used to be. It is okay for us as a 46th LD to say this would be a good thing to do, regardless of what the courts advocate or how that plays out. It is still okay for us to tell our legislative representatives and for us to make that statement as the 46th that we should have financial penalties against people who participate and benefit from ICE raids that terrorize our community. We know that this is a police force that is not being used to police and enforce laws, but is being used to hurt people. And it is okay for us to say there should be a financial penalty for that through our state laws and constitution.
Thank you, Bethany. I was muted. We have a hand up from Kathy Sakahara. Kathy, did you wish to speak in favor?
Thank you. Took me a while to get unmuted. I raised my hand a while ago to respond to the question about a constitutional amendment. Is that so belated you don't want to hear it? Just to provide information.
We can hear the answer if you have.
Well, so the answer is, in order to amend our constitution, we need 2/3 of each house and it does go to a vote of the people. So anyway, so yes, I think the language is really okay because it has to start with the legislature.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification, Kathy. All right. We've had one speaker in favor, 2 speakers against. Is there any more discussion before we take this to a vote? Judy. See, Judy, you're muted.
Sorry. Has the language been discussed with any of the, like the immigration, the folks who are doing the immigration work?
Cody, do you have an answer for that?
I mean, we have major organizations in the state and nationally, as well as people at the University of Washington who have been doing a lot of work around detention and the need or not need for it, or what's really happening. And it would be nice to know if anybody had consulted them.
The answer is no.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment to strike the third be it resolved clause? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, we'll go to a vote. So right now we're not voting on the entirety of the resolution, but just whether or not to strike the third be it resolved clause that says, be it further resolved that legislators amend the Washington Constitution to mandate any employee receiving more than 10% of their income, either directly or indirectly from ICE, who resides within Washington state is taxed at no less than 200% of their yearly income, with the proceeds directed to the general fund. Any failure to reconcile this amount results in a forfeiture of property and or assets commensurate with the outstanding unpaid tax. If you wish to strike that, vote yes. If you wish for it to remain within the resolution, use a red X. So yes is to remove, green check mark is to remove that clause. Red X is to leave it in place. This is a close one. We'll give it a little bit of time. Looks like numbers are still changing so far. We're at 15 yes, 15 no. Every time we get a yes, an extra no goes up, and every time we get an extra no, a yes goes up. And so far we're a whole, oh, we've got 16 yes, 15 no. They've been coming in short, so as a reminder, we're voting on whether or not to strike the third, therefore be it resolved. If you wish to strike that, a green check mark for yes, a red X for no. I'm going to keep it open for about 10 more seconds. We have 17 yes and 15 no. All right, that amendment passes. 17 yes to 15 no. We'll be striking the third, therefore, or the third be it resolved, that entire paragraph. All right. And just so people can kind of see it on the screen. What do we need? Actually, I don't know that we need, I think I can just strike the whole thing. There we go. So this is where we are at right now. Okay, excellent. Are we still sharing that on the screen? I don't know that we are.
We're not.
You're not.
Okay. Let's see, I'll try to get that brought up. All right. I think when Nathan does the timer, it cut off his screen sharing, so I'll just get this up and going once it allows me to. There we go. All right, can everybody see that now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When I share my screen, everything goes away in Zoom, so I can't really see anything, so I appreciate it. All right, we have a hand up from Tara Gallagher. Tara. You are on mute, Tara.
Yeah, I am. I would like to move the amendments previously discussed. I can drop them in the chat. I think we can consider them all together. If anyone wants to amend the amendments, I'm open to wording changes.
Okay.
If anyone wants to suggest changes before there's a second, we don't have to deal with that.
So we'll give it a pause, and the pause is simply so people can read these three. So it would just the amendment is to insert the underlined language at the start of each of these, therefore be it resolved clauses.
Right, and it would be removing the language that's in brackets. Just to further wording.
That's in bracket. I don't see
And
bracket.
on the third one, it would be, basically taking out legislators are directed.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I see it. Yep. And the third one, there are brackets. Okay. So it would be to remove that. So the reason I was just going to give it a pause is because once it becomes seconded, then we have to debate and amend the amendment. Nathan, you have a hand up?
Yes, this is a request for information. May a non-voting member, that is someone who has paid dues but who is not technically eligible to vote at this meeting because of the delay in that privilege kicking in, may those individuals still make motions at this meeting, if not vote?
That is fuzzy. I'm gonna ask Tara, who's our
No, because making a motion is the same level as voting. More debatable is speaking, which I think we do allow, but making a motion is the same, is reserved for those with voting privileges.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Galaxy, you have a hand up. And you're on mute, Galaxy.
Hi.
There you go.
I have a follow-up question to the last. Is it in order for someone who has voice but no vote to request that a motion be made by a member?
That is a good question.
I would recommend that they message somebody and ask them.
Yeah, so my question is, do we currently have the chat open for everyone, Nathan?
It is, but our usual settings are in place whereby only hosts, me, and co-hosts can be messaged directly.
Okay. So I would say that if someone wishes to do that and they are not a voting member at this, that they message support, and then support can bring that forward and just ask the question if anybody would like to consider this motion that someone has. Does that make sense? I don't, if here's the thing, if we're in a room, you could poke your buddy and tap him on the shoulder or her and say, hey, what do you think about this? And they could stand up and do it. I don't want to kind of lose that. So I do see Kathy Sakahara has a interrupting motion, it looks like. Kathy?
I think so. I don't want to be as formal, and so if this is out of order, let me know. I don't want to be as formal as appealing the decision of the chair, but can I informally say, I think voice means voice. I think voice means my opinion is it would be good if this thing was taken out or this thing was added. We want to be inclusive, and I can get into a whole philosophical thing, but erring on the side of inclusivity, especially since we don't let people chat each other. I would like to hear. I'm curious what that person has to suggest, but I'm not going to formally appeal anything.
Okay. And yeah, and that's why I was saying to please chat the support and let them know at least what it's regarding so we can bring it up and we don't lose something. Nancy Connolly?
Hi, thank you very much. This is quite a sweeping resolution, and I want to say I'm very much in support of the spirit of it.
So right now we do have a motion on the table. I haven't quite asked for a second just yet. So if you could, if you want to speak for or against the final passage, I just would ask that you pause for right now while we.
I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
So my question is, are other precincts doing similar resolutions, and might it be stronger if we took some time and thought about it a little more than this? That was my question. Is, are other people looking at this similar to Tara's, and would it be a stronger resolution if we cooperated or collaborated with other groups doing a similar thing? That's my question.
There are, as far as I'm aware, I believe some of the other LDs are passing similar resolutions. I have not seen them yet. And whether or not it, having not seen them, I can't really answer if it would be better to, use theirs or ours. All right. So right now, the reason I paused asking for a second is so we don't have to go down the rabbit hole. If somebody wants to make a friendly amendment to Tara's proposed amendment, now would be the time to speak. Otherwise, I will ask to see if there is a second for Tara's amendment. Is there a friendly amendment, friendly amendment, friendly amendment? All right, seeing no, which isn't really amendment because it's not on the floor just yet. It was just to save us a little bit of jumping through hoops if people had something. So now, is there a second to Tara's amendment to insert language after each of the therefore be it resolved, insisting and asserting and ensuring in that order, and then in the third one to take out legislators are directed. Garrison, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I would like to second.
Okay. All right. So it's been moved and seconded. Now we can enter into debate on these amendments. Is there any discussion on these amendments? Tara, would you like to speak towards your amendment?
As I said before, we can only resolve what is actually in our power to resolve. So we cannot resolve what legislators do. We can only resolve that we really urge that they do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Nathan, with the timer up there. Is there any further discussion on these amendments to insert that language? Any further discussion? I'm gonna try to start typing it in there now. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to a vote on these amendments. Please use your green check mark if you wish for this language to be altered as posted in the chat, and a red X if you wish to vote no. All right. I am seeing 26 yes, 0 no's, which means that these amendments do pass. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear all feedback. Thank you, everybody, and I'm going to try to get these inserted in there while we're going to make sure we keep it. And is there any further discussion or amendments to this before we consider the entire resolution? I have a hand up from Pat Tressel. Pat.
Yeah. On the last, okay, it looks like you're adding it right there. I was just going to point out that there was a further change there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit slow trying to type and share at the same time. So that would be it. Gary, you have your hand up.
Yes, even with that third resolved now removed, I must say I remain uncomfortable with the current language. I strongly support efforts to really advocate for our a just immigration system, but I'm just wondering if we can, if there's a means to table a motion for further discussion with other legislative districts.
Yes, you may. If I recall correctly, we don't table, we postpone. So you could make a motion to refer this to there are a couple things you can do. Refer it back to the resolutions committee. You could refer it back to the person that submitted it, asking that they, consult with other LDs or whatnot. I believe that those are all proper motions. Is that correct, Tara?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that I'm not considering, or that I haven't made our member aware of their options that you can recall?
Let me. Yeah,
So
or there is just simply postponing without any direction.
Okay. So postpone, you could postpone to the next meeting without any direction. Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I'd like to move to postpone for this resolution to be considered both by the resolutions committee and by the author for further discussion with other legislative districts. Would that be a legitimate postponement? So I'm really asking for more eyes on this before we vote on it.
I believe it would be a proper motion. Do you concur with that, Terry? You have a hand up.
I mean, technically it's a proper motion. It's kind of a bit of a question. It is a question if that goes for debate, whether the committee is prepared to do that, but that would be a legitimate motion.
So, okay. So it's possible that the committee might not be able to do that. Is that what you're saying, Tara?
Yeah, but that's for discussion.
Okay, all right.
It is a proper motion.
Okay, all right. So it is a proper motion, Gary. Would you like to make that motion?
Yes. Do I need to repeat it?
Please, yeah, go for it. Please do, just so we have clarity.
Okay, I am moving to postpone a vote on this resolution pending it being taken back to the original author and to the resolutions committee for further discussion, especially with other legislative districts.
Okay. Is there a second to Gary's motion? I see a hand up from Judy.
Yes, I just want to, this would be an amendment if it's not made, to a time certain, and I think it should be brought back for the next month's meeting, because this is going to be an urgent issue.
Okay, do you accept that? So it hasn't been seconded yet, so you could amend your original motion, Gary.
Yes, I accept that. That this would be postponed until the next meeting, but during the interval, it would require that the author and the resolutions committee consider this resolution again, and in particular, inquire of other legislative districts as to their actions. So this would have to happen in the next month.
Okay. And if that's the case, Judy, just for clarity, I want to double check and make sure that, are you now seconding Gary's motion since he took your, it wasn't technically an amendment because it hasn't been seconded yet, but are you now seconding that revised motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right.
Because anyway, I'm going to just comment on that because I think it needs some work. That's why.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, Gary, would you like to speak further towards your motion?
Sure. Again, I agree that the spirit of the resolution is something that I can support, and I suspect many of us can support. But I'm really interested in seeing that any language, any proposals really be considered from a practical perspective. We don't want to waste time if this is going to hang things up. I really want the legislature to potentially be able to do meaningful actions. And I'm just not convinced that what we're proposing here is going to lead to the meaningful actions.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Cody, I'm assuming you wish to speak against this motion, is that correct?
Yes, I would like to speak against this motion.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I was going to save this for, speaking in support of it, but I mean, fundamentally, the Democratic Party has for too long been a reactive organization instead of a proactive one. We're consistently asking ourselves what we can't do as opposed to what we can do. We are currently in a crisis, and I don't think this is the time for weak wills and just sitting here debating semantics. The legislature is in session now. They're debating this issue. They are debating these issues surrounding ICE now. And we need to send a message to them now about our concerns and not letting these people terrorize our community.
All right. Thank you, Cody. I have a hand up from Bethany, followed by Tara.
Once again, we play this on mute. I would speak against the resolution to table, or against the motion to table or send this back to committee, especially if no one else is willing to speak. But if someone who has not spoken wants to speak against this, I will yield to them.
Tara, do you wish to take the remainder of Bethany's time, which I think was about 1 minute and 45 seconds?
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
Apologies, just to clarify, the timer was still running from Cody. So.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tara, do you wish to take the remainder of the time that was ceded from Bethany? I'm just estimating she was about 15 seconds total.
Sure, I can do that.
All right.
This is a resolution. This isn't legislation. This is basically for us to send our opinion to our legislators and tell them this is the sort of thing we want them to do. They can fine tune it. I'm sure they will water it down. So we want to send them the strongest possible statement. We don't really need to work on it anymore and make it sound more like what a final legislation would be. We need to tell them now that we want big action.
All right, thank you, Tara. Any further discussion? We've had 2 speakers against postponing and 1 speaker in favor. Any further discussion? Any further? Heather, you have your hand up. Do you wish to speak in favor of postponing?
Hi, yes, I'm happy to speak in favor. I agree that it's important to send our legislature a message, as quickly as possible to let them know that we feel strongly about this. But I have some concerns about the language, not just being imperfect, but possibly being illegal. And so I think someone mentioned wanting to send things to our legislature that are actually actionable. And I do think it's important to send them things that they can actually work with. Oh, thanks.
All right, thank you, Heather. All right, having had 2 speakers for, 2 speakers against, we will go ahead and go to a vote. If you wish to postpone consideration of this resolution until the next meeting, allowing the submitter and the resolutions committee to confer with other LDs, vote yes to postpone. If you do not wish to postpone, vote no. No with a red X, yes with a green check mark. All right, it looks like we have about half the people voting so far. All right, we've got 27 people voting, 43 people in the room. So again, a green check mark to postpone, a red X to continue to consider this resolution. All right, so voting has normalized. We've got 43 people in the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people are non-voting members, which is 39 voting members, and we have 21 no and 9 yes. So the motion to postpone fails. And mathematically, there is no way to overcome that. All right. So we're back to the original resolution. Is there any discussion on the resolution? I'm trying to remember if we've had speakers. I feel like we've had 1 speaker against, I think at the very start. We haven't yet had a speaker in favor. Scroll up. Is there any discussion? Okay, we have a hand up from Cody and then a hand up from Kathy Sakahara. Cody Zelensky.
All right, so I would like to speak in favor. To once again reiterate, the Democratic Party is a reactive organization instead of a proactive one. And this current crisis is not the time for weak wills. This resolution is to send a message to Olympia that we are not just interested in banning face masks for ICE officials. Authoritarians do not care about rules imposed on them by those who they consider their inferiors. They only speak the language of consequences, and it's time we prove our fluency. We don't just want the toothless mandates, we want them gone from our state. They have forsaken the public trust and deserve to be sanctioned by whatever means necessary. My hope would be to make the lives of ICE officials in Washington so unbearable as for them to commute from Idaho. Whether or not these actions would hold up in court, and it would be to make the current regime challenge them and put them on the back foot. This is the year of the Democratic Tea Party. This is about moving the Overton window to ensure our party is dedicated to trampling out the vineyards of the grapes of wrath instead of colluding with fascism. Thank you, and I save my time.
Mr. Chair, you appear to be on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Antonio. Kathy Sakahara, do you wish to speak for or against passage of this resolution? Okay.
I wish
Kathy.
to speak for.
All right.
Can I do that?
You have the floor.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. I want to echo what Tara said. This is not perfect language, and we could wordsmith it forever. That's not the point. The point is not only telling the legislature, but frankly, the world, how we feel about this. I probably shouldn't use expletives going on. I had a long discussion yesterday with someone who's young and very smart and very political, who shocked me when she said there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. We all know that's not true, but that's what young people are seeing. And anything we can do to make it clear that we stand on the side of justice and love and peace, and we know the other party is just the opposite. So the other thing I wanted to point out actually during the last discussion, I'm pretty sure the legislature will have sine die before our next meeting. So if we're going to do it, we need to do this now, and I hope that you will.
All right. And all right. Thank you, Kathy Sakahara. So we've had 2 speakers for, 1 against. Is there any further discussion before we go to a vote on this resolution? Kathy Benson, you have a hand up?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Okay.
So is it possible that one of our options on this vote is abstain?
Yes, you can always abstain when, during the last vote, we had about 10 people not vote. And those are,
Yeah, but to me,
if
that's
you would like,
kinda
if you'd like to use a
different.
coffee cup to have your abstention officially counted, you may do so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. And thanks for reminding me of that option. All right, is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. If you wish to pass this resolution as amended, use a green check mark for yes. If you do not wish for it to pass, use a red X for no. All right, green check mark for yes to pass the resolution, red X for no. It looks like voting has stabilized, 43 people in the room. 38 voting members. We have 26 yes, 2 no, 1 abstention. Mathematically, no change in votes could alter the outcome, so this resolution passes as amended. Thank you, everybody. All right. Let me stop sharing my screen and jump back to the agenda. All right, we are on to new business. Is there any new business to be considered? Give me just a sec. I'm gonna clear feedback so that way things don't get lost. So if you're raising your hands, okay. If you already raised your hand, you'll have to do it again. So I'll call 3 times. Is there any new business? Any new business? Any new business? All right, seeing none, we are on to announcements. Once again, I'd just like to remind everybody the deadline, 5 p.m. to file for delegate. Link is in the chat up above. You're going to file directly with the state party on their website. 5 p.m. is the hard cutoff. So if you log in at 4:55, just get your name and your info in there and call it good. But please don't wait. Please go ahead and take care of that tonight or tomorrow and get us in there. We only have 27 people who've applied. We have 35 slots. So lots of room for more people. It's great to have options. So please consider filing. And then also, again, as a reminder, we will tentatively have a forum on Thursday, February 26th from 7 to 8 p.m. via Zoom. And the forum will give everybody a chance to hear directly from our state delegate candidates and why they each want to be a state delegate. So please look out for more information on the event. We'll be sending out an email soon on that. Are there any other announcements? Representative Follett, excellent. You have the floor.
Thanks. I didn't know if you meant like good of the order, or is it okay to give a little legislative update right now, or?
Yes, I think a legislative update on the session would be good to have. I sent you a text during the meeting, but I don't know that it didn't look like you got it, so.
Well, I was paying attention, not looking at my phone, you know?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, sir.
Tonight was cut off for bills to pass their House of Origin. And I think everyone probably knows very well that, you know, the exciting news is that the state Senate has passed a millionaire's income tax. And this is a dream that, as Democrats, I think all of us have long awaited for. And I'm very confident that the House of Representatives will pass it as well. And the big challenge here is how to craft something that will, well, the governor has to sign it, but the real big challenge is how to ensure that we pass something that the voters will not reject, because it will end up being subjected to an initiative. And I think from progressive values, what I'm advocating for is that we have to show that we are putting funds into education and access to higher education and healthcare, and that we are not just taxing millionaires, but we are making it possible that low income and working people of the state of Washington are going to feel some real tax relief from our upside down tax code. Just knowing that you're taxing a millionaire doesn't make it feel better if you're still paying 18% of your taxes as someone who's a working mother with 3 children and making $35,000 a year. So we've got a challenge ahead of us. And the most painful thing is that we're still facing a multi-year deficit. Word got a little bit better today. We have a new revenue forecast that shows we've got several $100 million more coming in. The bad news is we don't yet have what the inflationary cost is for the things that we have to pay for. So it will not be as much money as announced today. And then I want to share on the discussion about the data center legislation. I've been deeply involved in passage of this and working with Representative Dolio on this. We are breaking ground here saying that it is not acceptable for data centers to suck up the water, raise consumers' electricity rates, use fossil fuel energy, and to get tax breaks for doing all that. As chair of the Joint Legislative Audit Review Committee that reviews tax exemptions, I keep reminding people that we're literally giving about $40,000 per employee to the data center owners as a tax break. We got to end that. They're investing billions of dollars and we're giving them a tax break. That's insane. But you'll see, we gave another tax break to get the bill through. So we're this one for 2 data centers in Spokane. And the employee guardrails have to do with the construction work, not the long-term employees. So that's the struggle. We passed it out of the House, and we hope to hold on to it as strong as possible in the Senate. And thank you for the resolution tonight. We'll share that with people.
Thank you for the update, Representative Paulette. Are you able to take any questions? I do see a couple of hands up. I wonder if they're questions.
I'm available, yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Kathy Sakahara, you raised your hand. Do you have a question? You're on mute, Kathy.
Okay, thank you, Representative Paulette. It's a question, but I'm going to be honest, it's more a little bit of a comment, and that has to do with the framing of a millionaire's tax. I just learned recently that that term started or at least I was told with the governor. And I've been very confused why that phrase is being used, because this doesn't tax millionaires. A lot of people in this meeting are millionaires on paper just because we were lucky enough to buy a house 10 years ago in Seattle. And it is sending the message that we're going to tax everyone whose 401k is worth $1 million. That's clearly not true. So I'm going to beg you to please, 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 and especially if it goes to the people, change that frame to million dollar a year income. Yes, it's a long name, but it's so much clearer.
Well, I thank you. I can assure you, because I'm not sitting in a legislative official room, that this is framed by extensive polling by labor and progressive partners as to what will be the most persuasive 2 or 3 word measure. I know we've debated in the legislative bodies, talking about, the points you just made. And we're assured that when other phrasing was tested in polling, it doesn't do as well. And I will tell you that the polling is not what you would feel confident about going into an initiative campaign. I mean, we win, but you usually want to be well above 60%. And we have a lot to worry about. And that's part of why it's not just the name of it, but you have to, I think, demonstrate where it's going to go as part of that. But I hear you, and we're going to keep the discussion going, and I'm sure our partners will test other messages.
I'm pretty sure NPI, Andrew, will do a poll on that, because we've been talking about it a lot. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Good question. Great.
You're on mute, Chair Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Antonio. I was going to call on our next hand, Brandon Monson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Plett, for being here. Sounds like my question is perfect after that conversation. Who is going to do the organizing for this campaign, and how do we as a legislative district get involved?
Well, this is going to obviously have to be all hands on deck with the state party organizing with the LDs. And the lead effort for it is going to come from our brothers and sisters in labor. They're the ones who have both the funding and basic organizing capacity to kickstart it. But I think the state Democratic Party and each LD is going to have to play a really essential role in terms of being the soldiers out there to knock on the doors, go to the forums, and do that groundwork that makes this possible to show neighbor to neighbor that we want this, because that's how we're going to have to win this.
All right. Pat Tressel.
This is not a question. It relates to data centers. It's just a little tidbit of information that I happen to know because I was very interested in data center architecture at one point. I don't know.
Pat, can we save it just to see if there's some other questions so we might be able to cut Jerry loose? I have a tidbit as well I'd love to share, but can we see if other people have questions for
Well, I do want
Representative Follett?
to say something lighthearted, which is I didn't know that data centers had architecture.
Oh,
Well, this is I could also email it to Jerry later.
Of course, yeah, of course.
oh, okay. You wish to share something with him. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
yes,
misunderstood.
yes.
All right.
It's
Thank you.
very short.
I apologize. Thank you, Pat.
I
Go
think
ahead.
it's interesting. So
So
you've probably heard it said that, all these jobs will be created as a result of building data centers. Well, as with many of this kind of facility, the jobs will only be during construction, then they go away. The reason is a modern data center is a lights out operation. No humans in the building, literally no lights. If the discussions were that we would not even have a breathable atmosphere inside. We would have a nitrogen atmosphere in order to quell fires. So a human wouldn't even go in. All monitoring is done externally. There's no need to replace things because a failed component can be configured out automatically. Now, a lot of that predates, I used to work for Google. A lot of this information predates working for Google, but obviously Google has enormous data centers and a lot of that kind of stuff applies. They did not go so far as to have a nitrogen atmosphere, however. So that's all. There won't be jobs afterward.
No, thank you, Pat. Rob Jenks?
Maybe just call it a billionaire's tax, Jerry, even if it's not precisely correct.
And it's,
I know that's popular, right?
but it's not really a millionaire's tax either. So
I know.
I think we should, whatever works.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever works. And at the end of the day, it'll come down to a lot of organizing and the rest of it, right? So on the data centers, was there a fee that was part of the current legislation, or did that get stripped out?
We lost the fee. That was one of the things I was working, trying to prevent us from losing. The fee, for other folks to know, is we were saying that there needed to be a fee on the consumption of electricity by the data centers to plow back into low income energy assistance, since the evidence is overwhelming that they cause a rise in rates. And that was equity, and we lost that.
And was there any discussion of just requiring them to source their own renewable power off the grid, or at least some portion off the grid?
Well, the bad news here is what they're proposing in Washington State is to build multiple nuclear reactors to provide their own power. And we bear all the risks. We bear the costs of the waste disposal, and there's legislation that's been proposed, and it has Democratic sponsors, I'm ashamed to say, then people who have forgotten about the whoops lesson, that would basically say that the ratepayers would be liable when the construction doesn't get completed on a set of reactors. This is really could bankrupt Washington State. We almost went bankrupt as a result of whoops, and this would do it. We're talking about $9 billion for just one set of reactors for Amazon.
Yeah, I had in mind solar and wind, which is a lot cheaper and more reliable. I don't know why we wouldn't just require them to source solar, wind, and batteries to power the data centers. I mean, it's actually cheaper and lower risk than nuclear. I mean, it's absurd to me why this doesn't happen. But anyway, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Rob.
Garrison Dinsmore?
Thank you. Representative Blatt, I just had a quick idea. You could call the millionaire tax a tycoon tax, and it rolls off the tongue and you don't have to worry about specifications. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Did anyone
Garrison.
hear a tycoon? I think it's a good message.
Nilu Jenks.
It's not letting me. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, Neil.
Can they hear me?
Yep.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me? Can I ask my question? Hi. Sorry, Rob and I are across from each other, so we're having to mute one and not echo. Hi, Representative Paulette. I really
Hi.
appreciate you coming here. I actually had a question about the data centers as well and the discussion around SABI Corp and ICE, just because we were talking about ICE here today. And in, one of the 5051 groups today, I saw a post that said, how do we have SABI not create, a concentration camps in their owned facilities? And it's the same corporation that is doing the data centers. So I'm a little concerned about the data center ICE link here. And I just didn't know if that was a conversation happening. Okay. So,
Will you send me any,
mhm.
if a link or something, send it to the three of us in the delegation.
Yeah.
I had not heard anything about how SABI was linked to ICE too.
Yeah, I'm happy to send you some info. And I'm especially concerned about the data fee being lost. And I'm like, are we subsidizing? Like, I know that's a roundabout conversation, but yeah, I'll send info.
I mean, let me just say, the first thing in my mind is that given how strongly your Democratic legislators all feel about, trying to do everything possible about ICE, if SABI is also in bed with ICE, that would be help us kill their tax breaks.
I will send that over now.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Nilu. I've got one question for me and maybe slight comment, Representative Paulette, regarding these data centers. Any talk about a fee for thermal pollution and impacts to fisheries and especially tribes?
So, Beth Delio, I've been working with. I mean, we started talking about what we might want to do. We wanted to start with something stronger about their water, not only their water use, but their discharge of, they're like a coal plant or a nuclear reactor discharging heated water. And there are serious pollutants involved in their what they release in the atmosphere, and they're not clean. They're not in terms of their liquid discharges too. They're just, people think they're clean. They're not. We realized that if we had enough problem with just, so what all we could do, we felt, was get reporting in on these issues. And keep them subject to the existing laws. But there was no path for us to add additional requirements on them right now.
Okay, thank you. Are they, is their discharge point source for the most part?
They have both point source discharges and condense it into the air. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. All right. Thank you for taking the time to give us an update on the session and let us know everything that's going on. Really excited about the tycoon tax, or whatever phrasing is going to get used. And I think that in the 46, we're going to be working hard along with Democrats across the state to make sure that gets passed through the initiative process once
I think
you guys get it out.
We have to plan for that work now,
Yep.
So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Thanks for waiting on and the good questions. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Representative, and thank you, everybody, for your good questions. Are there any other announcements that anybody has? Or actually, we'll go to good of the order. I think we did the announcements. Any good of the order? Any good of the order? Pat Trussell.
Yes, there is, if Nathan can post in the chat, there's a link, there's some links for this. This is a message from Seattle Indivisible. They would like us to sign in pro tomorrow. Let me get the Actually, Nathan's got the link. I'll let him do it.
Oh,
Okay,
it
there
looks
it
like
is.
it's in the chat.
Yep, yeah. So this is the thing that we've sort of been waiting for. This is the unmasking. And they are asking us to sign in pro. This has to be done by 9:30 a.m. So this is something that people could just hop online and do this right now, right after the meeting.
All right, thank you, Pat. Yep, that's to ensure that ICE agents cannot wear masks. So please consider signing in pro. Any other good of the order? Any other good of the order? All right, Bethany Stackhouse.
Once again, I'm muting. I would just like to say, as good of the order, to thank Hunter for continuing to chair our meetings and make sure they run smoothly and professionally, even though I am sure that he is not getting a lot of sleep at the moment, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Bethany. I really appreciate it too. Were it not for all of the amazing volunteers doing all of the work behind the scenes and all of the committee work, yeah, you're right. It would be a lot more difficult, and who knows? But yeah, with the new baby, it's definitely been sleep has definitely been a challenge. So thank you, Bethany, and thank you to all of our volunteers running the meeting behind the scenes, and especially Nathan Antonio, Tara Gallagher, who have stepped up quite a bit to help me with my chair duties behind the scenes as well. So appreciate you guys and see you guys and everyone else who's stepping up and taking on more. Really appreciate everybody. Alice Lockhart.
Yeah, another good of the order, as long as we're saying sign in pro, this is when you'd have to do it tonight, but it takes about 20 seconds. Basically to close some loopholes in the Clean Energy Transformation Act. And I just pasted it into the Slack. Although it looks like I missed like the first little bit. Here. There. That was supposed to be first.
All right. Thank you, Alice. Okay. Any other good of the order? So, and just remember, when the meeting ends, everything's going to go away. So I suggest that if you're planning on signing in pro of either of those two, that you click those links now and get those windows open so that way you don't lose your chance. Is there any further good of the order? Any further good of the order? Any further good of the order? All right, seeing none, we have come to the end of our agenda. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. If you wish to adjourn, please raise your hand. Nancy Connolly. Oops.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, moved by Nancy Connolly. I see a hand up from Christopher Buckley.
No, sorry, I was just agreeing to adjourn.
Okay, so
Apologies.
moved by Nancy Connolly, seconded by Christopher Buckley to adjourn. Is there any objection to adjourning? Any objection to adjourning? Any objection to adjourning? All right, seeing none, we are hereby adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight for democracy. Please consider signing on in pro for those bills. And thanks for everybody bringing the resolutions. Tara for running point. And don't forget, run for delegate, 5 p.m. Friday, 5 p.m. That's the deadline.
And happy Lunar New Year.
Yes, happy Lunar New Year. Yeah, thank you for that. Forgot about that.
And Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ah, that's right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nathan.